As PICO 4 was officially announced with impressive specs and features, it surely is the new standard for low-end VR headsets. Or is it? Will we actually see people using the PICO 4 over the Quest 2? In this video, we'll be covering the specs and the hardware differences between Quest 2 and PICO 4. To talk about the battle between the PICO 4 and Quest 2, we have to go back in time. Maybe a little too much. Just around here. Oculus Quest. This headset was the beginning of Facebook's, now Meta's, dominance of the VR industry. The original Quest received some praise for its cheaper price relative to the VR headsets in the market and the convenience of a standalone headset. This continued on for a while and added more force as the Quest 2 was released and ultimately gained majority popularity within the VR community. The Quest 2 was able to get to the top and maintain its position as there were no viable options available for the consumer to purchase a VR headset as convenient and cheap as the Oculus Quest 2. Then it finally happened. On September 22nd, ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, officially announced the anticipated PICO 4 VR headset. The PICO 4 follows the release of PICO Neo 3 with the promise of new VR features, which we will see in all future VR headsets. We'll go into the specs very shortly. From the features, capabilities, and the price, PICO 4 is the first viable competitor to the Quest 2. Let's compare the hardware specs of the PICO 4 to the Quest 2. The resolution of the PICO 4 comes in at a beautiful 2160 by 2160 per eye LCD display, while the Quest 2 offers a 1832 by 1920 LCD display. PICO 4 uses the pancake lenses, which allows the headsets to have a slimmer and lighter design. Did you ever think the Quest 2 was a little too heavy on your head or neck? I did, for sure. I got used to it over time, but having a headset much lighter just allows for a more comfortable experience in VR. The weight of the headset without the straps comes in at 295 grams on the PICO 4, which is around 10 ounces, and 470 grams, which is around 16 ounces for the Quest 2. I'm sure me talking about it doesn't get the point across, but you will for sure notice the difference if you have the opportunity to try it on. PICO 4 features a stepless lens separation compared to Quest 2's 3-step. PICO 4 has 8GB of RAM while the Quest 2 has 6. One of the bigger differences between the two is that PICO 4 has a full color pass-through while the Quest 2 has the grainy grayish color pass-through. On paper, PICO 4 clearly seems to win in every category possible. Does that mean it's the better VR headset? Unfortunately, no. The specs can look really good on paper, but oftentimes, you have to use something for a very long time to really know if you personally like something over another thing. Really think about that when I go into this next section. Imagine you have the perfect VR headset with all of the features from the year 3022. Sounds really good in theory until you see the price. $10,000. Well, now it's not as attractive as it once was. The popularity of a VR headset does depend on comparing the price to the actual experience that you're getting. It's not a coincidence that PICO 4 is priced just under the Quest 2 with the same storage size. The PICO 4 128GB version comes in at 429 euros, while the Quest 2 is currently at 449. The similar pricing between these two headsets will really make someone that's wanting to get into the VR space think about which is the better choice. Someone that's brand new to VR has the option to start with a headset and buy more games and accessories. For someone like me, who's had the Quest 2 for a while now and spent countless amount of money on games and accessories to make the VR experience better, I wouldn't want to ditch my Quest just to move over to the PICO 4 just because of the specs. On paper, the PICO 4 clearly wins in every aspect compared to the Quest 2 while being a cheaper headset. Does this mean you should buy the PICO 4? Well, it depends. Do you already have a VR headset? If so, I don't think the PICO 4 is anything to ditch your current one, especially if you have a Quest 2 or better. I do see the Quest 2 lasting for a good bit longer until the Quest 3 comes out next year in 2023, so a lot of people might want to wait for that. What if you don't currently have a VR headset? That also depends. I'm not sure if all of the great VR games currently on Steam VR or the Meta App Store will also show up in the PICO App Store. Another big issue I see some people having is that they're just not comfortable with the security issues that come along with a Chinese company. Sure, you can say the same thing with Meta stealing your information, but you can't ignore it when looking at these two headsets for more than just the experience inside the headset. Despite all of the differences, bringing the competition is always great for us, the end users. It ultimately allows the community a choice between different headsets, and it's no longer get a Quest 2 or a high-end VR headset. The competition is just starting. Going forward to next year and beyond, you'll be able to choose from so many cheaper VR headsets to high-end ones similar to a smartphone. Let me know in the comments whether you plan on getting a PICO 4 or will be sticking with your current headset. I'll catch you in the next one.